Welcome to another episode of Biz Takeouts, Bizcommunity's sound-bite-sized news to go, made possible by Oliver MEA, the world's first and only company to exclusively design, build, and run bespoke in-house agencies and marketing ecosystems for brands. I'm your host, Angie Lawrence, and I'm very excited to welcome today's guests. Nkululeko Vilakazi is the creative director, and Cindy Liu is the digital transformation lead of Oliver MEA's new studio team. And they'll be sharing insights from the Ola Choose Joy campaign. Welcome, Nkululeko and Cindy.
Thank you for having us. Well,
thank you so much. Super excited to be here and chat more about our campaign.
Awesome. So, Nkululeko, I'm going to start with you. Can you tell me what sparked the idea for this campaign? Where did the idea come from?
Well, when we look at the period in which the campaign was released, it was a very depressing year. I mean, 2020 with COVID and the lockdown happening. But we weren't going to let that really bring us down and ruin the summer. So heading into the season of where we were going and looking at the products we were selling, which is Ola ice cream, it's a very seasonal product. You enjoy it in summer. And we didn't want the year that had been, the 2020 had been, to affect what summer for South Africa is like. Instead, we wanted to really focus in and celebrate the spontaneous and intentional moments of joy that we had experienced. So this triggered the idea that the campaign really needed to rally South Africans and lean into their optimism and innate joy. And remind them that even if they were unable to spend summer doing the activities that they love, like going to the beach with an Ola tornado or lip syncing their favorite tune at the back of a car on a road trip to a paddle pop tube, they still had joy at home, particularly in their fridge to be specific. And they just had to spontaneously choose that joy. So choose to play in the sprinklers, do a jazz square to celebrate a dustbin free throw, or even build an ice cream monster with wafer tea. It's all about taking the same and turning it into joy.
Thanks so much, Nkululeko. So you spoke about creating joy, but why was there a need for this campaign? What was the solution that you wanted to address?
Well, the need for it was twofold. There's from a business perspective or from a brand perspective, we needed to drive seasonal sales, and increase brand visibility across all digital touch points. But for the everyday South African consumer, the task was heavy. We had to save summer, So our solution was to step into summer 2021 with a very bright and cheery campaign that encourages our followers to choose joy, as previously mentioned. But we needed a vehicle to spread this joy across South Africa first. So we got one, a literal vehicle. We got a vehicle we called the Ola Choose Joy Mobile, which visited 24 content creators and influencers alike, with a starter kit that aids them in further spreading the joy and directing audiences to Ola social pages and websites. Our consumers organically heeded the call by sharing content of themselves, enjoying joyful experiences with their favorite Ola ice creams, and the engagement and upload of the photos and the hashtag showed high brand loyalty and campaign buy-in across all segments of our target audience. So we decided to reward South Africans for choosing joy with a chance to win a year's supply of their favorite Ola ice cream. So, I mean, if to trigger a moment of joy turning into a whole year's supply of ice cream, any South African would want to have that. And so we didn't want anybody to miss out. So we made sure that we hyper-targeted our consumers within a 5-kilometer radius of any Ola retailer with a display banner that directs them in-store through a Google Map integration. And our consumers can then purchase and enjoy their moments to choose joy.
Thanks so much. It sounds like the joy has really sufficiently been spread. But of course, there's been the COVID pandemic. So can you tell us, how has this pandemic affected the ideation or the planned marketing for this campaign?
Well, I mean, the COVID pandemic and the national lockdown affected much more than just our campaign, Consumers, one, affected them financially. A lot of people had constraints from a financial perspective, and the uncertainty of the economic climate also caused to be a challenge. And by consequence of ice cream being an outdoor refreshment that's heavily associated with outdoor activities and summer activities, we had to ensure that the idea was executable within the restrictions set by our government, and as well as by being empathetic and honoring those with our consumers and putting their safety first. So And we made sure that the consumer participation didn't rely on leaving the safety of their homes in order to purchase an ice cream. Therefore, we had to first re-solidify the ice cream's position on the shopping list, almost reposition it from being an impulse purchase to it being part of a monthly shop that you require to keep at home, ensuring you always have your joy. And then further to that, we had to craft our communications to speak stocking up on your favorite Ola ice creams, which made it even easier for our consumers to then choose joy because they had it with them at home all the time.
Sounds like you've managed to integrate choosing joy into all of South Africa's lives. You've touched on the different channels that you've used, but Cindy, maybe you can elaborate on the channels that you used to bring this campaign to life.
So we partnered with both Facebook and Instagram to drive mass awareness to our mainstream consumers about the campaign. We partnered with content creators such as influencers to really amplify the message on their chosen platforms to their targeted audiences. We utilized our brand-owned assets, which is our website, and created a beautiful landing page that really shouted and celebrated our campaign with a very strong call to action on what the value exchange is and what we want the consumers to do. From there, we also created geo-vicinity banners that targeted consumers within 5 kilometers of every e-tailer and garage, whether it be at Engine, Sasol, or Caltex. And we also did programmatic banners, which also drove mass awareness to the mainstream consumers. So all in all, each channel was selected for their specific KPI or success drive or measurements, and we really delivered against these metrics.
So nobody had a chance to miss out on that joy. Elaborate on what the results were like for this campaign. And also, if any of them were unexpected and what role the COVID pandemic played in it.
Certainly. I mean, over the course of the summer period, the campaign sort of engaged with 6.4 million South Africans who all took that most important decision, and that is to choose joy. We tripled Ola's social following across the different social media platforms. We drove over 140,000 site visits to the Ola website, and that resulted in over 10,000 competition entries. And on Instagram, the campaign achieved an engagement rate almost 5 times higher that of the industry standard. So we know for a fact people were hashtagging. Further to just that, we also saw that all of that was achieved with just a very low CPE of just 55 cents, and a total of 2.7 million impressions across the campaign also clocked in at a lower CPM than our industry standard. So it's safe to say that numbers don't lie and they speak for themselves here. But more so than sort of the results that we garnered on our digital touchpoints from an engagement perspective, all of this means nothing if we aren't selling ice cream. You know, people aren't keeping ice creams in their hand. And as for the number of ice creams our consumers enjoyed, Ola recorded 110% month-on-month sales increase through their partnership with Bottles and reported an 11% sales uplift. Now, everybody was smiling to the fridge.
Yeah, it's definitely all about those hashtags. But I'm sure with all of these amazing results, there were some challenges. Cindy, can you tell us about some of the challenges that you've experienced?
Definitely. So as Mkhuleko mentioned earlier, it was a difficult time where we had to pivot a lot in the ways we worked as a team, in the ways we communicate with our brand teams, and in the ways that we wanted to put this campaign together. Bearing in mind that it was a 360-degree campaign, so it really touched base across all the different functions that we had to work across, whether it be R&D, finance, retailers, e-commerce, customer teams, brand teams. So it was a very collaborative effort. With that in mind, we had to make sure that each function had a very COVID-safe plan from all the way from development all the way to execution. So from a communication point of view, we really made sure that we weren't overtly asking consumers to leave the safety of their own homes because we were in a tough time. We had to really change our messaging to say, rather stock up on your favorite Ola and make sure that we were on the shopping list for every consumer. From a secondary point of view, we also had to relook how we deployed public relations. We had an opportunity to do press drops at numerous influencers and publications arenas, and we had to really adhere to COVID safeties. So your social distancing, your sanitizers, your face masks. It was obviously quite difficult to capture people's attentions with their face mask on, but we really made sure that, you know, their song and dance came about when they received our parcel, and just to really still be able to spread the joy in those mannerisms. So those were the two pre-planned COVID safety awareness rules that we followed and implemented.
Sounds like you really went above and beyond trying to implement this campaign and really make sure that everybody chooses joy. You've touched on so many aspects of this campaign, but do you have a standout memory from the campaign or some lessons that you've learned?
Definitely. It's so important to be consumer centric in everything that you do. What is the value exchange? What do you want your consumer to take out of it? And we've learned that if we are able to add value beyond beyond consumers just simply purchasing an ice cream, they will always keep your brand top of mind. So that's what we try to do at every leg of the campaign. Keeping that value, keeping that loyalty and advocacy, and making sure that Ola is always the choice when you're wishing for an ice cream.
And I'm sure, I mean, amidst the pandemic, implementing a campaign that's all about joy, it's really, really made an impression in the consumer's mind. So I don't think anybody will forget about Ola. While we're talking about the amazing results of this campaign, do you have any plans to expand on it?
Definitely. The campaign was built and intended to run every season. So what we wanted to do was build a campaign that we could really absorb learnings, insights, and add these enhancements each year to our campaign. So don't reinvent the wheel. Look at what worked, take those learnings in, and just make it better each year. In fact, we ran the same campaign late this year into this year right now, and the key focus was all around sharing the joy, and it has yielded great campaign impact and results thus far.
Amazing. So still lots to look out for and lots of joy to spread. And then last but not least, Cindy, how can people get in touch with you or your team?
Awesome. So you can find out more about Nkululeko on his LinkedIn profile, or Nkululeko Vilakazi at ustudio.com. For me, you can find me at cindylou at ustudio.com, or hit me up on LinkedIn. Let's connect. Let's chat.
And that's a wrap on today's show, with thanks to Oliver MEA for making it possible. It's Biz Takeouts. Take it where you like it, when you like it. Bye for now.